Hello there, fight friends. MMA Andy Cotterill, and we have a special treat tonight. We have Adam Primetime Posener, one of Canada's fastest rising MMA stars, 20 years old, 4-0, and he's fighting this Thursday night in the main event of Battlefield Fight League 83 against Zack Powell. Adam, thank you for speaking with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Andy. Glad to be on.
And not only do I thank you for speaking with us, I thank you for going through this a second time. We had technical issues, so we've actually done the whole interview, but we're doing it again. So look at Adam, still smiling. So, thank you, Adam. I
gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Again. That's right. Okay, so I don't know if I'm necessarily going to follow exactly because I can't remember exactly how we went, but I guess we'll sort of talk it out. So I did mention I spoke with Zack Powell already, your opponent. His full interview is up on YouTube now, and it will be on Instagram tomorrow morning, clips of it at 8 o'clock. I spoke with Zack, and Zack is when he talks about his opponents, it's give or take. It all depends on, I think, the energy of the other opponent. But Zack was nothing but complimentary towards you. He was very respectful. Talked about he recognizes how skilled you are and what a good fighter you are. That being said, I mentioned to Zack, and I mentioned to you as well, that when I heard this matchup, I was very surprised. I didn't think this matchup would occur. To me, and I explained to you why, and I'll explain to everybody else.
Yeah.
Even though you're a fantastic fighter, you'll beat most of the guys you're going to fight at your level, whatever your level means, 20 years old, almost every single guy. Usually when you see a fighter who's 4-0 and there's like a build-up process, right? Where the fighter goes through stages and you face increasingly difficult opponents until you get to the top. To me, felt like this fight for you against Zack, or a fighter of Zack's caliber anyway, probably should have come like 4 fights more into your career. So I was surprised that this is happening right now at 4-0. What did you think about Zack and him and his opponent when you're offered this match?
Yeah, no, I knew he was a good opponent. I honestly didn't expect it to be him. There were a couple other guys that I thought I was going to be fighting. Like you said, that were, maybe a little bit less fights and whatnot, but I knew after my last fight that I was going to be fighting for a title, right? Because the last guy was, undefeated, right? I think he was pretty good, although my opponent doesn't seem to think so for some reason. But, basically, it was a title eliminator of sorts, right? If he won, he would have got a title shot for Samurai. If I won, I would have got a title shot for BFL. So, obviously I won, so here I am getting the title shot for BFL, right? There were a couple opponents that we tried to get, but fortunately it didn't go through. So I guess here we are.
You mentioned Samurai a moment ago. When I was at the Samurai 13 in Gatineau last month, I think it was,
yep.
I just ran into the BFL president and owner, Jay Golshani, and we talked about a bunch of stuff, including the fight between you and Zack. And I mentioned, I thought I was surprised about the matchup to him as well. And he said, yeah, well, you know what? This is the chance for Adam. Adam's got all the skills, and this is the chance for him to see if he can put it together and fight a fighter of, beat a caliber of Zack's, triple more words, to beat a fighter of Zack's caliber. But he clearly thinks he was very excited about the chance of you winning this fight and, being the BFL champion, 170-pound champion. There's so many good welterweights in Canada. I guess that's got to be good to hear that the president of the company you fight for thinks so highly of you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? To fight a guy like this and, throw myself right in that, like you said, there's a lot of good guys in this division. So this fight will show that, I belong with those guys.
So you are one of those new breed of fighters, maybe not a new breed because maybe started about 10 years ago, but, I guess we'll still call it a new breed where you are not really, like somebody that came from one single individual traditional martial art, more so than you've been training MMA since you were a freaking kid, man. Once again, I keep going back to your age and experience, and don't think for a second I'm using that in a derogatory manner whatsoever. I think what you've done in your time at your age is absolutely incredible. But for people not watching, they don't understand. You're not just a 20-year-old kid fighting. You are a grown man who's 4-0 as a professional, who's got so much experience under your belt. For me, it's incredible to see a young man of your age to be where you are. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, no, things went quick, right? It's crazy. I made my professional debut 14 months ago. I made my amateur debut 2.5 years ago, right? So, again, granted, I fought 4 times in the last 2 years, so 8 times total, right? So, again, when you fight 4 times a year, it's destined to happen, especially when it's going the way it's going.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's a big difference between fighting in a gym and training and being a sparring guy, and somebody's actually got cage experience and building up that cage experience. That experience in the cage is invaluable to progressing in your skill levels.
For sure, right? It's totally different being in the octagon than training, right? And it's no matter how much time you have on the mats, right? You could easily fold in the octagon, right? So it's that's the way this game goes. You see that happen with multiple guys. You hear this guy's really good and he's got all this potential, but he doesn't show up on fight day and it doesn't go his way.
Yeah. Tell us now. Let's move back to Zack Powell. Tell us your thoughts on him as a fighter and what you see his strengths are, and what you think you might be able to do to bypass his strengths and implement your game plan. Don't tell us anything that's a secret, of course, but maybe just on a general level.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, he's good, right? He's like similar to me, right? He was an MMA fighter. He doesn't really have any crazy, wrestling experience or boxing experience, right? He is very good at those two things, right? But it's not like he was a Golden Gloves boxer, national level wrestler, right? He's a good MMA fighter, right? He's got a good record. He comes from a good team, and this is going to be a good fight, and you're gonna see my level on that night.
That's great. What does your training lifestyle look like? Like, how often do you train? Do you train every day? Where are your main locations you train?
Honestly, I train kind of all over the Lower Mainland a little bit, right? I've had times at a lot of places, right? And yeah, I try and get 2 sessions a day. Try and do that, at least every day if I can. I'll try and get something though every day, right? Something that'll help me get ready for this big fight, and that's really it.
Awesome. Let's talk now about fight night, the actual fight night proper. If you could visualize and sit there and plan the perfect fight against Zack on Thursday night, what would a perfect fight look like to you? What are you going to have to do, and how would you see that fight play out?
I think it's going to be a good fight, right? He's very good, right? Yeah, but again, he's good record. He's had 20 combined fights, and he's never been finished, right? So if I can go out there and he's fought some good guys, by the way, right? He fought that what's that guy's name? Mark Holm,
yeah.
Yeah, Mark Holm from Dricus's gym. He fought Dario, right? I mean, again, those guys can get him out of there, right? So if I can get him out of there, that'd be a nice bonus to getting this done.
I know that BFL has that sheet they pass out before each fight night, where each fighter has like a fight bonus. Like you get 5 takedowns, and it's kind of neat. Get 5 takedowns, and you get an extra $500, or win by knockout, and you get $500. Do you know already? Is a finish going to be on the list for you for that night?
They're not doing. I don't think they do those anymore. They haven't done those like the last.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think like the last time that I fought in BFL was the last time that that they did that bonus thing. So I don't think they do that anymore because a couple guys were complaining at it, so they just kind of dropped it.
Okay, well, I kind of liked it, but I guess I understand.
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, like some of them were a little bit kind of ridiculous, but like, I mean, like some of them, it's like one of them was like a punch choke or something weird, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
No, I don't know.
Or a pace choke was what it was. Like I remember one guy got a pace choke, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like it's like search that up on YouTube, and I'm like, you expect someone to do that in like a professional mixed martial arts fight? Like,
yeah, I was at a fight once, and this guy won by submission, and he won by something called. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how he won the fight, and so after the fight was announced, the other guy was unconscious, and I walked in the cage to take pictures like I do at the end of the fights, and I walked up to him and his team and said, "Hey, what did you do?" And they just looked and smirked and smiled at me and said, "Oh, mother's milk." I had no idea what mother's milk submission was. And it was like a smother, right? I mean, put your body over his mouth so he can't breathe. So that's kind of funny.
No, that.
All right, Adam.
Pretty crazy. I've never thought I'd see that in MMA. I guess that's a first.
I don't know if it was a first, but yeah, if it was, I'm proud.
I've never seen it, so
no.
Yeah.
All right, pal. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for taking the time. And I mentioned this to you before. Like, in the fight game, it's kind of weird in my position because I meet so many fighters, and most fighters are lovely people. They're just people, and they're very open and welcoming. And so, I like you very much. I like Zack very much.
Appreciate it.
So I don't really have a dog in the game. Like, it's a shame, but like somebody's got to win, but somebody's going to lose. So regardless of who wins or loses, you have my best wishes for the fight. Hope you have a great performance, and we'll see how it goes. But before we get going, is there anything you'd like to say? Anyone you'd like to thank?
Thanks to my team. Obviously, it's a long list of name off the top of my head, but thanks to my team, thanks to my sponsors, they know who they are, and let's get this done on Thursday.
Awesome. Well, Adam, once again, thanks for speaking with us. There you go, fight friends. Adam Posener fighting Zack Powell in the main event of BFL 83. You can watch it on UFC Fight Pass this Thursday night.